Hello and welcome back to Chengi's World. I am Chengi and you, my precious ones, are my world. So if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, like, share and comment. And for those of you who are coming back again, thank you so much for your support, for your interaction, for your comments, for your likes, for your shares, for just building this dream and this vision so that I can reach as many women and men as possible with the good news that love is possible for everybody to really receive the love you crave and deserve. So keep tuned. So on Soul Saturday, so we're gonna have two types of Saturdays. We're gonna have Soul Saturday and Storytime Saturday. Okay, I've exhausted all my stories, so let's go to Soul Saturday. So I was sitting in the shower. I was in my shower and I do my best thinking when I'm naked for some reason. Hello. But usually when I'm in the shower in the loo, that's when I get my best thoughts. But I was sort of in the shower and I was sort of talking to God. And one of the things that really struck me was that in all the time that I've been doing what I do with people and with the lives that I touch, is that every single person is broken, every single person is hurting, every single person has a story to tell. And with the whole sort of Tell Somebody movement and the whole Me Too movement, you know, people have got mixed feelings about it because obviously the innocent always end up going down with the guilty. But I started to really look and reflect on it from a very spiritual mountaintop perspective, where I began to realize that God is opening up a season for us to really be able to deal with hurt feelings. The reason for it is because as we approach 2019 and as we close 2018, God wants to bring to birth in 2019 those things that we have conceived in 2018. But hurt and feelings of hurt and issues that we've buried deep in our psyche, of hurt, of being abused, molested. When you hear the stories of the women who have reported, you know, the molestation and how it ruined their careers, these are destinies and purposes that were aborted because of something that somebody did to them, and for years they were not able to speak about it. And I started to think about how wondrous it has been for God to create an atmosphere in the realms of the spirit that has opened something, a portal in the earth, to allow women to now feel free to come out and share the issues and the things that happened to them when they were children. And as I began to reflect on it, I realized that many of us are carrying this kind of burden and this kind of hurt. And maybe nobody molested you, maybe nobody felt you up, or maybe the person that did so was a cousin, a friend, or somebody. Maybe the molestation is not your story. Maybe you were physically beaten every single day. Maybe you were emotionally violated every single day. Maybe there was nothing that you could say that was valued in your family, that mattered to your family, that was held in high esteem. Maybe you were battered in one way, shape or form. But what I know is that every single person walking upon the face of this earth is hurting. And here's how I know that. Because when I read the book of Psalms, David talks about how he was born in iniquity and shapen in sin. And he's talking about original sin. He's talking about the sin of the garden. And sin is that missing that mark. And God says, you know, the repercussions for sin, the wages of sin is death. And we know that Christ has handled that. But the issue is that death is always ensuing when we are born in a state of sinfulness, okay? And so death takes the form of death of destinies, emotional inability, emotional disabilities, emotional breakdowns, mental breakdowns. Mental health is something that is also really coming into the fore in this season of the earth. The earth realm has opened up the conversation to do with mental health and is demystifying it and destigmatizing it so that we can step forward and say, look, I am not feeling well. Not in my body is fine, but my mind is struggling. I am depressed. That is not feeling well. That is as valid as a headache. That is as valid as a cancer. You know, when you're emotionally and mentally unhealthy, the stigmatization has gone away. Now the idea of everybody having a therapist has become normal. And I want to encourage us to realize that, you know, even if we gave our hearts to the Lord and we're now saved and we now love the Lord, there are issues that God wants to walk through with us. There are issues that God chooses not to bury in our soul. There are things that God wants us to bring to his feet, and to also realize that God has put people to stand in his place, to be those people that can bring healing, people that are qualified to hear your story, people that will share. Now, we have to understand that in this time of an open season, in this season of healing that God is putting us and the earth through, that we must all begin now to look at those areas that need healing so that we can give birth in 2019 to the destinies that we have conceived in 2018, into the plans and to the visions that we have conceived on this side of 2000 and of our lives at this year, as we are stepping into 2019. 9 is the number of birthing and new birth, and that's where, and 10 is completion. So 10 and 9, new birth and perfection and completion. We're entering into 2019, and God wants us to deal with the hurts in our hearts and the pains and the things that we've been hiding. And maybe we told a family member and they didn't believe us, and maybe maybe a family member is not the right person to tell. Maybe you need to go to a professional first and work through those issues so that when your family hears it, they're not going to break apart. Because ladies, here's the problem: there isn't a man that's going to come and fix what's broken, okay? And I think some of us do not. It's easier to say there are no men anymore, where are the good guys? It's easier to say I was all the good guys have disappeared, or I'm just going to be okay being alone, or whatever lie that we tell ourselves in order to be able to cope with the pain of yesterday and the pain that was inflicted on us that has robbed us of our destiny. It's so much easier to say that than to say I was molested, I was sexually violated, I was mentally violated, I was, why? Because those who violated you were violated too. We pass on that which happened to us. Broken people break things easier because they know how to break it, because it was done to them firsthand. So it is a cycle that needs to be broken over our lives. And it starts by you saying, look, I face so many things of, the town I live in hasn't got good men in it. The town I live in hasn't got these sort of men. The situation I'm in. But actually what you are refusing to do is do the work on the inside. And there's something I put on my Instagram today, that said there's no hack for doing the work. I would love for there to be a tablet that we can take that can just, we can just take it, and the pain and the hurts of yesterday, broken marriages, broken homes, broken families, the brokenness of yesterday can just be healed, and we can just be functioning human beings. I wish there was the case. But the truth is, in order for you to heal, you need to be intentional. You need to be deliberate about the process. You cannot let or think that time will heal all wounds. Time can cover over, time can take the sting away, but the healing work comes from the ability to intentionally go into your pain and deal with that pain. And part of why we don't want to deal with it is because we don't want pain that's associated with healing. There can be no healing without pain. Even a scar and a wound. I remember mom, when we fell over and scraped our knees, she would say, go and get the salt. And she would pour the salt and it would burn like crazy. But she knew that pain would be temporary because it would preserve us from further pain, infection, and all the other things that could happen. And some of us emotionally and mentally have this open wound that we never treated. We covered it over with a plaster. We covered it over with a bandage. And we're really hoping, crossing our fingers, hoping for the best, that thing is going to be dealt with without our involvement. That if we just put that plaster there and pretend it's not happening, then it's just going to fix itself, because we don't feel as bad as we did when it happened, because we've now grown up, we're on person. But now we've replaced that with alcohol, we've replaced that with drugs, we've replaced that with promiscuous sex, we've replaced that with habits. There is a way that we are hurting ourselves and injuring ourselves, and the worst possible way to try and heal, which is what I find most people do that come to me, the worst place to go, and the place that is easiest, the easiest outlet to go, is to find a man. I just want to find a man, because then he's going to validate me, he's gonna fulfill me, he's gonna make me whole, he's gonna fix that which was broken. And I don't want to pay for a therapist, but I'm just going to become a shopaholic. I'm going to go shop and buy 4 pairs of the same black shoe. This one's a bit higher, this one's a bit lower, this one's a bit, we're going to spend money on shopping, because actually paying £60 or £100 or £50, 20, there's always, a variation. For a therapist, that's just something that I can't afford that. So this is what I do. I do retail therapy, okay? But actually, you are just putting a plaster over a bullet wound. What you're doing is wrapping up something that is infected and hoping that one day some other human being who is also broken, remember, it's not just women that get molested. This Me Too movement has mainly been women, but trust me, men are going to come out here and start to talk. Men are going to come out here. Because guess what? I know for a fact that little boys are being violated, that in order to get further on in their football careers or whatever. There's always some perv that hangs around children, okay, that the DBS or whatever police checks don't always catch. But children are victims in show business and in other things, men, male and female. It's just that it's not cool for men to come and say, this is what happened to me. But you're gonna find more and more of that, because the reality of it is, enough is enough. Okay, we cannot let these predators and this spirit continue. The cycle has to be broken. It has to be so terrible to violate somebody emotionally, mentally, spiritually, as parents, even as siblings. It's gotta stop. We have to be accountable to God. We have to now be accountable for our actions. We have to realize that the way we're living life and the way that we're neglecting our responsibility and the way that we are closing a blind eye to the things that are happening is no longer acceptable. It is not acceptable for you to speak to your child any kind of way because they're a child. I do not accept child abuse in the name of I am the parent, so I can open my mouth and speak to you in a way that I would never accept myself being spoken to. I refuse to accept that as a parent I have the right to speak to my son as anything other than a dignified human being, because I don't want to perpetuate the cycles. I don't want my son to believe that his voice does not count. I don't want my son to believe that he is of low value so that he can go and find that value from somewhere else. And we were parented in a very difficult time when our parents did the best that they could, but there's scars there. We know that they love us, we know that they cared about us, but there's scars there because you were beaten for something that you could have had a conversation about. So now you're just so afraid to talk about it, to confront the people that hurt you, because that mental programming was, you cannot speak about, you cannot say no, you cannot air your views, you cannot do this without there being pain associated with that. And so what we have become is a broken people, that death is constantly ensuing. And if we're here saying that Christ has died and we are free from sin, then we should also be free from the shame and the stigmas that we attach to ourselves. We should also be free from that stigma that says there's something wrong with you because you are not feeling well. I want us to be able to say, I am not feeling well, and it be an emotional or mental health issue and not have shame or stigma attached to it. I want my son, my daughters to be able to say to me, my nieces, my nephews, my sisters, my employees, whoever is in my life, to be able to say to me, I'm not feeling well, and for them to tell me that it's an emotional and mental illness that they're feeling at that time, and for me to regard it, and for us all to regard it as bad as a broken leg. Okay, because until we evolve as a culture and begin to make that acceptable in our homes, first and foremost, to our children. When your child says no, no must mean no. If your child says, mommy, stop, and even when you're tickling them and playing with them, and they're like, mommy, stop, let them know that their stop and their no means something. Because if they can learn that at a young age, they will learn it as they grow up, that my no is something that's important, I'm going to use that. And so of course there are going to be people that are going to abuse the system. There are women, my friend was telling me a story about a young girl who fancied a boy in school. He wasn't really paying her any attention, so she told her brothers that he raped her, and then the brothers went and stabbed him 1,000,000 times, and then she eventually confessed that it never happened, and now all lives are ruined, right? Now, of course, these things are going on, and of course, that will be the plan of the enemy to quieten the voice of those who truly have, if that voice is going to be allowed, if God is going to create a voice to be allowed, then of course the enemy is going to create a counterfeit and is going to tarnish it, because what he wants is for us to suffer in silence. What he wants is darkness, because when you keep it to yourself and you don't reach out and say, I need help and I'm broken, you will remain in darkness, and darkness is where the enemy rules and reigns. And some of us, we're taking this to church, we're rolling on the carpet. I was at a service the other day, I went to visit a church, and I was at the service, and this girl was rolling on the floor, taking her clothes off and doing all of these things, and the ushers couldn't control her, the pastors couldn't, men, strong, big men could not control her. Now, ordinarily, we know that, there can be manifestations. If you go to any kind of spiritual church, there are people that would do that. And sometimes it's demonic manifestations. But in this case, my discernment was like, no, this girl has a mental health issue. This girl is crying out for somebody to sit down and say, what is wrong? What is going on? And some of the things as pastors and leaders that we are neglecting when we see people manifesting and performing like this girl was performing, we are not recognizing that not everything is spiritual, that there are emotional issues that are coming into our services, there are emotional issues that are coming into our pews, there are mental issues that are coming into our pews, and people that we need to encourage to take their medication in the same way we would encourage them to take medication for a physical ailment. So I just want to build that awareness in you and say, tell somebody, open your heart to healing, because until you find that, you will never really truly find love. And love comes in a beautiful form and way and shape when you are whole, when you take your healing seriously. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it was a blessing to anyone and everyone who is watching this. Thank you so much for watching. Love you lots. Take care of you. Bye now.